She came home early that day, 3 hours ahead of schedule, pulled by an instinct she couldn't name. Her heart had been racing all afternoon. A voice in her head kept repeating, go home now. Victoria Matthews was a billionaire CEO, a woman who had everything under control. Or so she thought. But when she stepped through the doors of her Pacific Palisades mansion, the silence felt wrong. Too heavy, too still, like the air before a scream. And then her maintenance manager grabbed her from behind, hand over her mouth, voice urgent and desperate. Don't say a word. If he knows you're home, your children will be in danger. Through a crack in the door, Victoria saw something that shattered her world. Her 3 children, kneeling, trembling, crying, and standing over them, the man she trusted most. What she didn't know was that this had been happening for nearly a year. Every time she left for work. Every time she traveled. Before we go any further, comment where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments. And don't miss the next story. Make sure you subscribe to Tailcraft. The Pacific Palisades sunset painted the sky in shades of amber and rose, casting long shadows across the grounds of Ashford Manor. Victoria Matthews, 38, CEO of Matthews Properties, gripped the steering wheel of her Tesla as she pulled through the iron gates 3 hours earlier than planned. The Tokyo investors had canceled. Something about a scheduling conflict. But that wasn't what gnawed at Victoria's chest. All afternoon, her heart had been racing. Her hands trembled when she signed documents. A voice in her head, insistent and urgent, repeated one command. Go home. Go home now. She parked in the circular driveway, the gravel crunching beneath her low buttons as she stepped out. The mansion loomed before her, its floor-to-ceiling windows reflecting the dying light. Something felt wrong. The air was too still, too heavy. Victoria pushed open the mahogany front door. The click of the lock echoed through the marble foyer like a gunshot. Silence. Not the peaceful quiet of an empty house. This was different. Stretched tight. Suffocating. Like the moment before a scream. She moved forward, her heels clicking softly on the Carrara marble. Her Hermes bag slid off her shoulder unnoticed. Her eyes fixed on the hallway leading to the living room, where a thin strip of warm light spilled from beneath the door. And then she heard it. Crying. Small. Strained. The kind children make when they're trying desperately not to be heard. Before Victoria could take another step, a hand clamped over her mouth from behind. She jerked violently, instinct screaming at her to fight, to scream. Ma'am, please. The voice was low, urgent, desperate. Don't make a sound. The scent of machine oil and clean soap. Victoria's eyes went wide. James Porter, the maintenance manager. 42, blue eyes, always calm to the point of seeming hollow. The man she only ever saw briefly when signing payroll. The man who fixed things quietly and disappeared. But now that usually expressionless face was twisted with terror. His hand trembled as he held his finger to his lips, pleading for silence. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Those blue eyes weren't hollow anymore. They were filled with an urgency that made Victoria's blood run cold. She shoved his hand away, ready to scream. But something in his expression stopped her. Not the look of an attacker. The look of a man trying to save someone. James, she whispered, voice shaking. What are you doing here? Why, I'm sorry, he said quickly, words tumbling out. I'm so sorry, ma'am, but if they hear you, if he knows you're home, he swallowed hard, trying to steady himself. Your children will be in danger. Time stopped. My children. Isabelle, Marcus, Claire. Victoria's heart clenched violently in her chest. Where are they? She grabbed his shirt, desperate. Where are my kids? What is happening? James didn't answer with words. He pointed toward the living room, where that warm light leaked through the crack in the door. And from there, the crying continued. Small voices. Frightened voices. Victoria's knees went weak. But something primal surged through her. The instinct of a mother. An instinct she thought had died with Nathan 2 years ago. Flared to life like a beast awakened. You need to see this, James said, voice breaking. But please, trust me. Don't let him know you're home. Not yet. Him? Derek, James whispered. Derek Calloway, her second husband. The man she married 1 year after Nathan's death. The warm smile. The reassuring voice. The promise that he would help her raise the children. The man she thought was the calm after the storm. What did he do? Victoria's voice shook like a leaf. James met her eyes. In that blue gaze was the hollowed grief of someone who had seen too much and could no longer stay silent. What he always does, he said quietly. Every time you're not home. Victoria's world tilted, but she didn't faint, didn't scream. The mother in her urged, look, see the truth. No matter how cruel it is. James led her to the door. His hands rested gently on her shoulders, not to restrain her, but to brace her, because he knew what she was about to see could break her. Look, he whispered, and remember, your children need you steady. Victoria leaned toward the crack, and her world collapsed. Before we continue, let's go back. Back to where it all began. 3 years earlier, when Victoria Matthews was a different woman. When her world was whole. Victoria stood on the balcony of Ashford Manor, watching the sun set over the Pacific. Behind her, laughter echoed through the house. Her house. The house Nathan had designed. Nathan Matthews, 40 years old, brilliant architect, gentle soul. The man who had sketched their dream home on a napkin during their third date at a UCLA cafe, promising, one day, I'll build this for us. And he had. Every corner of Ashford Manor told a story. The curved staircase where Isabelle took her first steps. The reading nook where Nathan spent hours with Marcus, teaching him about shapes and structures. The garden where little Claire chased butterflies while her father planted roses. Mommy, Claire's voice rang out. Daddy says dinner's ready. Victoria turned to see Nathan in the kitchen doorway, apron on, spatula in hand, grinning like a teenager. Isabelle stood beside him, 9 years old, helping set the table. Marcus ran circles around them, cape flying, playing superhero. This was happiness, real, tangible, everyday happiness. That night, after the children were asleep, Nathan held Victoria on that same balcony, the ocean breeze cool against their skin. You know what? He said softly. What? I'm the luckiest man in the world. Victoria smiled. Because your wife is beautiful? Nathan kissed her forehead. Because I have a family that loves one another. It was an October morning when everything shattered. Nathan was in the home office, designing an art museum in San Francisco, the biggest project of his career. At noon, Victoria called him down for lunch. No answer. She climbed the stairs, pushed open the door. Nathan was lying on the floor, eyes closed, not breathing. A brain hemorrhage, the doctor said. Congenital vascular malformation. No warning signs, no way to prevent it. 1 minute alive. The next gone. Victoria didn't cry at the hospital, or at the funeral, or when people offered condolences with their hollow, well-meaning words. She just stood there, holding her children's hands, watching the casket lowered into the ground, and felt a part of her soul being buried with it. The months that followed were a living hell. Isabelle, 9, went silent. She stopped talking about school, stopped smiling, just sat in her room staring out the window as if waiting for her father to return. Marcus, 6, cried every night, clutching Nathan's shirt, breathing in the fading scent of his cologne. Where did Dad go, Mom? Why isn't he home? Claire, 3, didn't understand. She kept asking, is Daddy at work? When will he come play with me? And Victoria? She didn't know how to answer. She herself was asking the same question. How do you go on living when half of you has died? She became a machine. Up at 5 a.m., gym, shower, quick breakfast, drive the kids to school. At the office by 8, work relentlessly until 10 p.m. Go home, check if the kids were asleep. Then sit alone in the master bedroom half of the king-size bed empty and drink wine until she passed out. She didn't allow herself time to grieve. Because if she stopped, if she let the feelings surge, she would collapse. And the kids needed a strong mother, not a ruin. The truth was, Victoria was a ruin. She just hid it beneath Armani suits and practiced smiles. The children knew. Children always know. Isabelle stopped sharing stories because Mom wasn't listening. Marcus stopped asking about Dad because Mom only said, he's in heaven, and changed the subject. Claire stopped hugging Mom because Mom always went rigid. They became four strangers living under one roof. Victoria knew it, but she didn't know what else to do. She was drowning, and no one came to save her. Somewhere else, another life was breaking. James Porter, 40, sat in a Boeing 747 at SeaTac Airport, watching planes take off through the terminal windows. He should have been on one of them. Should have been flying to Los Angeles to meet with the Lockheed Martin team about the new safety systems he'd designed. But he couldn't get on the plane. His hands were shaking. His chest was tight. Every time he heard the roar of engines, he saw it again. Flight 447, the plane that took Rachel and Hannah. Rachel Porter, 38, elementary school teacher. Sunshine smile, golden heart. The woman James had fallen in love with in a Seattle coffee shop 20 years earlier. And Hannah, 8 years old. Curly blonde hair, angelic smile. One day, Daddy, I'll fly the biggest plane in the world. I believe you will, sweetheart. I'll design the plane, and you'll fly it. Deal. That was 6 months ago. Rachel and Hannah had flown to Seattle to visit her parents. James stayed in Los Angeles for work, planning to pick them up that Friday. He went to Lax with roses for Rachel and a teddy bear for Hannah. He stood in arrivals, checking his watch, smiling. Then the announcement came. Flight 447 from Seattle has had an incident. Technical failure. The plane crashed on landing. No survivors. 143 people. Including his wife. Including his daughter. James barely remembered the funeral. He remembered 2 coffins, one large, one heartbreakingly small. He remembered the words, "Our condolences," repeated until they lost all meaning. He didn't cry. He just stood in front of 2 graves, staring at 2 cold headstones, and felt empty. Empty to the core. 2 months later, James left Lockheed Martin. His colleagues were shocked. "You are the best aerospace engineer we have." "Why quit? I need a change." The truth was simpler and more devastating. He couldn't do it anymore. He couldn't watch planes take off. Every time he did, he saw the flight that had taken everything from him. He sold the house in Seattle, moved to Los Angeles, looked for the simplest work possible. Maintenance, repairs, gardening, anything that didn't require him to think. Anything that didn't require him to feel. Because if he felt, he would go insane. 9 months after Nathan's death, Victoria needed a maintenance manager. The previous one had retired. She posted the job, interviewed candidates. None felt right. Then James Porter's resume appeared. Her assistant frowned. Overqualified. Former senior aerospace engineer at Lockheed Martin, now applying for maintenance work at 1/10 the pay. Could be a scam. But Victoria decided to interview him anyway. The interview took place in the home office. Victoria sat behind Nathan's walnut desk, black suit, hair in a tight bun, face professionally cool. James walked in. 6'1", broad-shouldered but thinner than before. Simple white shirt, khakis, worn shoes. A once handsome face now gaunt. Blue eyes empty. Victoria flipped through the file. "You were a senior aerospace engineer." "Yes." "Why did you quit?" James paused. "I needed a change." "A change?" Victoria's voice was sharp. "Or an escape?" James looked up. For the first time, their eyes met. And both recognized something achingly familiar in the other. Pain. Pain so deep it defied words. "Maybe both," James said truthfully. Normally, Victoria would have declined on the spot. But there was something in his voice, the sincerity, the quiet grief that made her feel understood in a way she hadn't felt since Nathan died. "You can start Monday," she said. James nodded. "Thank you, ma'am." He stood to leave. "James." He turned. Victoria's voice softened, just slightly. "Someone hurt you. I won't ask who, but I know the feeling of wanting to run. To do something simple just so you don't have to think." James was surprised. Victoria continued. "This house needs care. More importantly, I need someone who doesn't ask, doesn't judge. Just works and leaves me be. Can you do that?" "I can." "Good." From that day, James Porter became part of Ashford Manor. For the first 6 months, they barely spoke. James arrived at 7, fixed what needed fixing, tended the garden, and left at 6. Quiet, efficient, bothering no one. Two strangers sharing a space without truly stepping into each other's worlds. Until one autumn afternoon when everything changed. Victoria came home early with a headache. On her way upstairs, she heard crying in the backyard. Claire then sat under the oak tree, hugging her teddy bear, sobbing. Victoria should have gone to hold her daughter, but her legs felt rooted. She didn't know what to say, didn't know how to comfort, because she herself was in pieces. Then James appeared. He'd been pruning the roses. Hearing the crying, he set down the shears and walked over. "What's wrong, Claire?" His voice was gentle, warm, none of his usual distance. Claire looked up, tears streaming. "Mr. I miss my dad." James sat down beside her. He didn't speak right away. He just stayed. Claire hiccuped. "I don't understand why he doesn't come back. All my friends have dads. I want him to come back." James closed his eyes, pain etched across his face. Then said quietly, "I lost my daughter too." Claire froze. "Really?" "Yes, her name was Hannah. 8 years old. Smart. Joyful. Like you." "Where is she now?" "In the sky." His voice trembled. "With her mom. They died in an accident." "Are you sad?" "Yes, every day." "I'm sad too." James opened his arms. Claire crawled into them and held tight. Two people, a 41-year-old man and a 4-year-old girl, sat under an oak tree and shared their grief. From the window, Victoria watched. And for the first time in 2 years, she cried. Not because she missed Nathan, but because she realized her child needed someone to listen. And that someone wasn't her. It was a stranger, a maintenance man, a person who heard as she did, yet could still give the gentleness she no longer had. That evening, as James was leaving, Victoria called to him. "James, I want to thank you." "For what, ma'am?" "For being there for Claire when I couldn't." He was silent. Then said, "I only did what I wish someone had done for Hannah." Victoria's voice broke. "I'm very sorry about your daughter. And I'm very sorry about your husband." They both fell quiet. Then Victoria said softly, "Maybe we're more alike than I thought." "Maybe," James replied. From then on, everything changed. James still handled maintenance, but he also became something more, a friend, a listener, someone who understood. He played catch with Marcus, taught Isabelle to fix her bike, read bedtime stories to Claire. The children adored him, calling him Uncle James with genuine smiles, the kind that had vanished the day Nathan died. And Victoria? She began to talk to him. Not much. Just a few words about work, the weather, the kids. Sometimes, on quiet afternoons, they sat in the garden, drank coffee, and said nothing, because they didn't need words. 1 year after Nathan's death, Victoria agreed to attend a charity gala in Santa Monica. She didn't want to go. But Matthew's Properties needed her presence. Investors, donors, the carefully choreographed dance of high society. She wore a black Valentino gown, minimal makeup, and the practiced smile that had become her armor. At the bar, a man approached. "Victoria Matthews, right?" She turned. Tall, distinguished, salt and pepper hair perfectly styled. Tailored Armani suit. Patek Philippe watch catching the light. Just the right amount of confident smile. "Yes, can I help you?" Derek Calloway. He extended his hand. "I invest in commercial real estate. I've heard a lot about you." Victoria shook it politely. "Thank you." Derek didn't leave. He leaned against the bar, casual but not intrusive. "I'm very sorry for your loss." "Your husband Nathan, I read about him? Talented architect." Victoria paused. People usually avoided that topic, dancing around it like a landmine. "Thank you. No, I mean it." Derek's tone softened. "I lost someone too. My ex-wife. Cancer. 5 years ago." Victoria was surprised. "I'm very sorry." "That's why I understand," he said, meeting her eyes. "The feeling that the world keeps spinning while you stand still." Exactly. Just what Victoria had been carrying inside. They talked. Derek was pleasant, humorous, not overbearing. He spoke about work, travels, lessons learned from grief. "The hardest part," he said, is the loneliness. Not because there's no one around, but because no one truly understands. Victoria nodded slowly. That's true. Derek looked into her eyes. But I think you understand. Don't you? Maybe. They exchanged numbers. In the first weeks, Derek's texts were simple. Checking in. Sharing articles. Nothing too intimate. Then he asked her to dinner. Victoria hesitated. But something in her, tired of the numbness, desperate for connection, said yes. A fine restaurant in Malibu. Derek was courteous. Pulled out her chair. Ordered thoughtfully. Kept the conversation tasteful. Maybe Derek was right. Maybe she should try. They began dating. And Derek seemed like the perfect man. Punctual. Thoughtful. Bringing flowers. Remembering small details. More importantly, he seemed to care about the kids. The first time he met Isabelle, Marcus, and Claire, Derek brought gifts. A doll for Claire. A soccer ball for Marcus. New headphones for Isabelle. Uncle Derek, Claire giggled. You're so nice. Derek knelt to her eye level. I want to be friends with Claire. May I? Yes. Seeing that, Victoria's heart warmed. Maybe this was the gift after the storm. A good man. A second father for her children. 6 months later, Derek proposed. Nothing flashy. Just a quiet dinner at Ashford Manor. He knelt, opened a velvet box containing a diamond ring. Victoria, I know I can't replace Nathan, but I want to be by your side, to love you and the children. Will you give me the chance to do that? Victoria looked at the ring, at Derek, at the 3 children standing on the stairs, eyes shining with hope. She didn't love Derek, not yet, but she believed she could learn to love. More importantly, she thought the children needed a father. Okay, she whispered. I accept. The kids cheered. Derek kissed her hand. Everything seemed perfect. Out in the garden, James watched through the window, his heart twisting. Not because he loved Victoria, he didn't dare love anyone after losing Rachel, but because the instinct of an engineer who once analyzed everything with precision told him something about Derek Calloway wasn't right. The smile was too perfect, the words too smooth. The way he looked at the children, not with love, but like an equation he was solving. James said nothing. He was just an employee, not family, with no right to interfere. He only hoped he was wrong. But he wasn't. The wedding. The ceremony took place that spring. Simple. Only family and close friends. Victoria wore a white Vera Wang gown, not as extravagant as her wedding with Nathan, but elegant. Derek wore a gray Tom Ford suit, his smile radiant. Isabelle was the bridesmaid. Claire scattered flower petals. Marcus held the rings. When the pastor said, "You may kiss the bride," Derek kissed Victoria. Everyone applauded. At the far end of the garden, James stood still. He didn't clap. He only watched. And the unease inside him grew heavier with every passing minute. The first month, Derek moved into Ashford Manor. He rearranged a few rooms. Bought new furniture. I want to refresh the space, he said. Start fresh. Victoria didn't object. She wanted to forget the painful past. Wanted a new beginning. Derek ate dinner with the family. Asked the children about school. Praised Isabelle for being smart. Praised Marcus for being brave. Told Claire she was adorable. The children liked him, calling him Daddy Derek. Victoria felt relieved. Maybe I made the right choice. Maybe the kids will be happy again. But then the small changes began. The second month, Derek started setting rules. Isabelle, you should study more. You're 12 now. You need to get serious about your future. Isabelle nodded. Yes, Dad. Marcus, less video games. They make you lazy. Marcus lowered his eyes. Okay. Claire, you're big now. Stop crying all the time. Claire bit her lip. I'm sorry. Victoria thought it was normal. Discipline. Kids need boundaries. Nathan had rules too. But something felt different. Derek's tone had no warmth. Only commands. Then Derek started correcting mistakes. Marcus dropped a glass of water. Just clumsy. Nothing more. Derek didn't yell. But his voice was freezing cold. You're too careless. Your mother works hard to buy all these nice things. And you just break them. Marcus trembled. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough. You need to learn. Go clean it up. Victoria watched, uneasy. But she stayed silent, because technically, Derek wasn't wrong. Children should learn responsibility. One afternoon, Isabelle came home 10 minutes late due to traffic. Derek met her at the door, unsmiling. Why are you late? There was traffic. Did you text your mother? I forgot. Derek frowned. You know how busy your mother is. And you made her worry. Isabelle lowered her head. I'm sorry. Next time, inform her. Understand? Yes, sir. Derek patted her head, not gently, but like stamping authority. Claire cried because she was bullied at school. Derek knelt down but didn't hug her. Why are you crying again? You're older now, but they tease me. The world doesn't care if you cry. You need to be strong. Weakness gets you looked down on. But I'm scared. Enough. Go to your room. Think about how to be stronger. Claire ran upstairs, sobbing. Victoria wanted to follow, but Derek held her arm. You spoiled them too much. It's time to teach them properly. Victoria hesitated. But Claire is still little. The younger they are, the earlier they should be trained. Or do you want them to grow up weak? Victoria fell silent. Maybe Derek was right. Maybe I have been too soft. But James noticed everything. He saw Claire crying in the garden. Saw Marcus looking at Derek with fear. Saw Isabelle growing quieter by the day. He wanted to warn Victoria. But what would he say? Your husband is a bit strict. That didn't sound like a crime. So he only observed. And hoped he was wrong. The third month, when Victoria traveled. Victoria's company was expanding. She had to fly to San Francisco, New York, even London. Derek said, Go. I can handle the house. Victoria felt grateful. Are you sure? Of course. I'll take good care of the kids. She kissed him. Thank you. The first night Victoria was gone, Derek changed completely. Marcus was doing homework. He wrote a word wrong, erased it, wrote again. Derek stood behind him, looming. You wrote it wrong. Yes, but I erased it. Erased? Derek yanked the paper away. Do you know how much this paper costs? How hard your mother works to buy it? I'm sorry. Sorry is not enough. He threw the paper down. Write it again, and don't make any mistakes this time. If you do, write it 100 times. Marcus's hand shook so violently he made another mistake. Derek stared. Wrong again. I didn't mean to. 100 times. Now, you can sleep after you finish. But I'm sleepy. I don't care, Derek barked. Your mother feeds you and sends you to school, and you're lazy, right? Marcus sobbed, trembling as he wrote. Isabelle finished her homework and was watching TV. Derek turned off the TV. Are you really done? Yes. Show me. He looked at her notebook, pointed. This answer is wrong. But I checked. Wrong is wrong. He threw her notebook onto the floor. Go to your room. Don't come down until you fix it. No dinner. But I'm hungry? Hungry? Derek sneered. Good. Hunger helps you learn. Go. Isabelle ran upstairs, eyes red. Derek locked her door from the outside. Daddy Derek, please open. Isabelle banged on the door. When you finish, I'll open. But the answer wasn't wrong at all. Isabelle knew. Derek only wanted to punish. Claire didn't finish dinner because she was full. Derek looked at her plate. Why didn't you finish? I'm full. Full. He shoved the spoon back. Your mother cooks for you and you dare waste it? I really can't eat anymore. Finish it, now. I can't. Then sit here until you can. Claire tried to swallow, then gagged. Finally, she vomited. Derek looked disgusted. Filthy. Clean it up, then go to bed. No dessert. Claire cried as she cleaned the floor, her little hands shaking violently. James was fixing a light in the hallway. He heard everything. His heart clenched. This wasn't discipline. This was psychological abuse. He wanted to intervene. But if he did, Derek would fire him. And then no one would be there to protect the children. So he decided, gather evidence, then tell Victoria. The next day, Victoria called from San Francisco. How are the kids? They're great, Derek answered sweetly. Behaving well. Don't worry. After hanging up, Derek called the children to the living room. Your mother just checked in. Now I'll ask. Does anyone want to tell her about last night? All three stayed silent. No? Patrick smiled coldly. Good. Because if any of you dare say a word, I'll tell your mother you're liars. Troublemakers. And I'll recommend sending you to boarding school. Far away from her. Far away from home. Do you want that? All three shook their heads frantically. Good. So when your mother asks, what do you say? I say everything is fine, Isabelle whispered. Smart. And you too? Yes, Marcus and Claire echoed. Good. Go play. And remember, I'm always watching. The threats didn't happen once. They happened every day. Your mother loves me more. If you upset me, she'd choose me. Your mother is tired of raising you. Don't disappoint her again. Your real father is dead. No one wants you. Only me and your mother. Those knives sank deep into young minds. They began believing they were burdens. They began fearing their mother didn't love them. They began thinking the truth meant losing everything. Isabelle, 12, became silent. No more stories about school. No more smiles. Only studying, chores, trying desperately not to make mistakes. Marcus, 9, stopped playing with friends. He feared coming home late. Feared Derek's anger. He grew withdrawn. Timid. Claire, 6, had nightmares every night. She dreamed of Derek locking her in, leaving her alone. She woke up crying but never dared to scream. Derek had forbidden it. And James? He watched the 3 children wither day by day, and it tore him apart. Because he saw Hannah in them, the child he couldn't save. But this time was different. This time, he wouldn't let tragedy repeat. He made up his mind. He had to act. He had to save them, no matter the cost. James Porter was not the type to act impulsively. He had once been an engineer. What he did best was observe, analyze, plan, and calculate risks. He understood that if he simply went to Victoria with nothing in hand, Derek would deny everything instantly. He would claim James was jealous, trying to ruin their marriage. And who would Victoria believe? Her new husband or an employee? No. He needed hard evidence. Something undeniable. James kept a detailed journal. November 5th. Derek forced Marcus to write lines 100 times. Forbade him from sleeping until 2 a.m. November 7th. Derek locked Isabelle in her room from 7 p.m. until 8 a.m. the next morning, just for doing homework wrong. November 10th. Derek made Claire kneel on the cold stone floor for an hour, because she cried. But writing wasn't enough. He needed visuals. James began installing microcameras throughout Ashford Manor. It wasn't easy. The mansion had its own security system. But he had been an engineer. He knew how to do things cleanly, invisibly. He bought microcameras online, hid them in objects no one would suspect. One inside the clock on the living room shelf. One inside a picture frame in the hallway. One inside a decorative vase on the dining table. Derek never noticed. He was too confident, too arrogant. And he underestimated James completely. In the first week, the videos captured damning scenes. Derek shouting directly into Marcus's face, just because the boy dropped a pen. Derek shoving Isabelle against the wall for talking back. Derek forcing Claire to stand in a corner for an hour without moving. But James needed more. He needed something Derek could not twist. His face, his behavior, his voice. While saying those cruel things. Victoria was on a business trip to Denver. Derek stayed home with the kids. James intentionally stayed late, pretending to check the water system. In truth, he was observing. At 8 p.m., Derek called the children downstairs to the living room. I checked your rooms, he said coldly. Isabelle's room is messy. Marcus has stains on his floor. Claire's toys are everywhere. We're sorry, Isabelle said quickly. We'll clean them up right now. Sorry? Derek smirked. You kids are always sorry. But you never fix anything. We'll try. Trying isn't enough. He roared, making all 3 of them flinch. Your mother works herself to the bone to raise you. This house, your clothes, your schools. And what do you give her in return? Laziness, uselessness. Marcus started crying. We're not... Shut up, Derek snapped, turning sharply toward him. Do you think your mother needs you? She needs me. And you? Your burdens. Claire burst into tears. I want to see my daddy. Derek bent down, face level with hers. His voice was cold as ice. Your daddy is dead. He left your mother alone. And you dare cry? Claire sobbed harder. Kneel, Derek ordered. All three of you. They hesitated. I said kneel. The children dropped to their knees on the cold stone floor, hands folded in front of their chests like prisoners begging for mercy. You will stay there until I say otherwise. 10 minutes? All night? I decide. Clear? Yes, the three whispered, voices trembling. Derek sat on the sofa, sipped his whiskey, scrolled through his phone, completely ignoring the three kneeling children before him. Behind the door, hidden in the darkness of the hallway, James was filming. Phone fixed in place. Clear frame. Crisp audio. This was it. Undeniable evidence. But as he watched the children trembling on the floor, James's own tears fell. He saw Hannah, his 8-year-old daughter with her sunshine smile. In those shaking silhouettes, he had been helpless once. Not this time. 20 minutes passed. Marcus whimpered softly. My knees hurt. Quiet, Derek barked without looking up. Say one more word, and I add an hour. Marcus bit his lip, tears streaming down his face. After 45 minutes, Derek stood. Enough. Stand up. The children clung to each other as they rose. Their knees were red and bruised. Go to your rooms. No bedtime snacks. You don't deserve any. They ran upstairs, sobbing. Derek poured more whiskey, smirking. James ended the recording. That was enough. He had the proof. Now all he needed was for Victoria to return, and to show her the truth. The next morning, Derek went out. The children were at school. James was fixing the fence when Isabelle came home early. She didn't go inside. Just sat on the swing, staring blankly at the grass. James approached gently. Rough day? Isabelle startled, quickly wiping her tears. I'm fine, Uncle James. You don't have to pretend with me. Isabelle was silent for a moment, then asked, voice trembling, Do you think I'm a burden? James sat beside her. Why would you think that? Daddy Derek says we make Mom tired. He says Mom only needs him. Not us. Michael's chest tightened. Isabelle, listen to me. You are not a burden. You're the best thing in your mother's life. Then why doesn't she see how Daddy Derek treats us? Because he hides it well. But I see it. I know everything. Isabelle looked up, eyes red. You you really know? Yes, and I'm going to help you. But Daddy Derek said if we tell, he'll send us to boarding school. Far away. We won't see Mom anymore. He lied, James said firmly. You belong to your mother. She will never send you away. Understand? Isabelle bit her lip. But I'm scared. I know. But you must trust me. I have evidence. I'll show your mother. Everything will change. Do you promise? James took her hand. I promise. I won't let anyone hurt you again. Isabelle threw her arms around him and sobbed. James wrapped his arms around her, like holding Hannah once more. This time, tragedy would not repeat. This time, he would protect them. That morning at Victoria's office. Victoria sat at her desk in downtown Los Angeles, preparing for an important meeting with the Tokyo partners. Everything was going smoothly. The contract was about to be signed. But throughout the morning, she couldn't focus. A restless, uneasy feeling crept into her chest. Not because of work, but because of something deeper. Something she couldn't quite name. She glanced at her phone. A message from Isabelle that morning. Mom, I miss you. Just a few short words. But beneath them was a quiet sadness that made Victoria's heart tighten. She immediately called Isabelle. No answer. She called Marcus. No answer. She called home. Derek picked up. You called? His voice was gentle. Are the kids okay? They're great. They're studying. Don't worry. Are you sure? Isabelle sent a message. It felt different. Derek let out a soft laugh. Isabelle's fine. She just misses you. You're overthinking. Victoria wanted to believe him, but instinct, the mother's intuition she had tried to quiet for so long, whispered in her mind. Something's wrong. Something is very wrong. Ignoring her assistant's protests, she canceled her entire schedule and drove straight to Pacific Palisades. Her hands trembled slightly on the steering wheel. She didn't know what she was running from, only that she needed to get home immediately. The front doors swung open. The space inside was eerily silent. Too quiet. Victoria stepped in, her heels tapping softly on the marble floor. No sound answered. No laughter. No TV. No children. She opened her mouth to call out. A hand suddenly clamped over her mouth from behind. Victoria jerked violently, almost screaming. "Ma'am, please." The voice was low, urgent, trembling. "Don't say anything. Stay quiet." She turned. James. His eyes were wide, his face tense, sweat glistening at his temples. "James," she whispered, voice shaking. "What are you doing here?" "Why? I'm sorry," he said quickly. "But if he knows you're home, your children will be in danger." "My children?" Victoria's heart clenched violently. "Where are they? Where are my kids? What is happening?" James pointed toward the living room. Victoria peered through the narrow gap, and her heart stopped. The 3 children were kneeling on the cold stone floor. Derek stood before them, whiskey glass in hand, his voice echoing through the room. "You kids are a burden. Your mother only needs me." Victoria went numb. She turned to James, lips trembling. "How? How long?" "Since the 2nd month after he moved in," James replied, voice tight. "Nearly a year. A year. Nearly a year. Her children had lived in hell, and she had known nothing." Victoria wanted to storm in, to scream, to tear everything apart, but James gripped her shoulder firmly. "Not yet. You need evidence. If he knows you found out before you have anything solid, he'll twist the story. Do you have evidence?" James nodded, handed her his phone. "I recorded it all week." Victoria watched the screen. Clip after clip. Derek yelling, shoving Marcus, forcing Claire to kneel, speaking venomous words. Her tears fell uncontrollably. "You're right," she whispered. "I won't let him get away with this." Victoria walked straight into the living room. James closed behind. Derek turned, startled. "Victoria, you're home early." The children looked at their mother, fear in their eyes, mixed with a flicker of hope. "Stand up," Victoria said, her voice low and cold. "Kids, get up." Derek forced a laugh. "What are you doing?" "I'm just teaching them some discipline." "Discipline?" Victoria stepped closer. "Or abuse?" "What are you?" "I know everything, Derek." She looked at James. "Show me." James played the video. Derek's voice rang out. "You kids are a burden. Your mother only needs me." Then the footage of Derek shoving Marcus, making Claire kneel, locking Isabelle in her room. Derek's face drained of color, but he tried to compose himself. "This is fake," edited. "Stop lying," Victoria shouted, tears spilling. "I see your face. I hear your voice." Derek turned on James, snarling. "You dared record me? In my house?" "My house." Victoria cut in. "And you, Derek Calloway, are about to be thrown out of it." Derek switched tactics, softening his voice. "Victoria, you're being manipulated. He wants to destroy our marriage. Don't drag James into this." Victoria pointed straight at him. "You destroyed it yourself." Derek turned to the children, oily and coaxing. "Isabelle, tell your mother. Has Daddy Derek ever treated you badly?" Isabelle trembled, looked at Derek, then at her mother. A long, heavy silence. Finally, her voice cracked. I hate you. You made us kneel. You said Dad didn't love us. You said Mom would leave us. I'm scared of you." Marcus and Claire broke into tears, nodding frantically. Derek stumbled back a step, his face ghostly pale. Victoria straightened, her voice firm. "You have 24 hours to get out of this house. Pack your things and leave." "You can't. I'm your husband. This marriage is over. My lawyer will send the papers." Derek clenched his jaw, glared at James. "You think you've won? You're just a cheap repairman." James replied calmly. "I don't need to win or lose. I just need the kids to be safe." Derek turned to Victoria, voice dripping poison. "You'll regret this. No one wants a woman dragging 3 kids." Victoria met his eyes without blinking. "I'd rather be alone than live with a monster." The door slammed. And in that moment, after nearly a year of suffocating fear, Ashford Manor seemed to exhale. For the first time, Victoria felt truly free. That night, Victoria didn't let the kids sleep alone. All four of them lay together on the big bed in her room. The bed that, ever since Nathan died, she had always slept in with one cold, empty side. Isabelle sobbed in her mother's arms. "I'm sorry, Mom. I should have told you sooner." "No." Victoria held her tighter. "I'm the one who should apologize. I wasn't there. I let you endure this alone. From now on, I promise, I will always be here." Marcus asked quietly, "Will Uncle Derek come back?" "No, sweetheart. Never." Claire threw her arms around her mother's neck. "I love you, Mommy. I love you too. I love all three of you very much." They slept, for the first time in months, without nightmares, because they knew they were safe. They were together. The next morning, Victoria found James in the tool shed. "James," he turned. "Ma'am, I want to thank you. If it weren't for you, I don't dare imagine what would have happened." Her voice caught. James shook his head. "I only did what was right." "No." Victoria stepped closer. "You did more than that. You protected my children when I was blind." She paused, meeting his eyes. "Why did you do it?" James was silent for a long time, then said, "Because I once lost a child, and I can't let that happen to any other child." You have a child?" He nodded, eyes glistening. "Hannah, 8 years old. She died with my wife in a plane crash." Victoria laid a hand on his shoulder, heartbreaking. "James, I didn't know. I'm so sorry." "It's all right," he said, wiping his tears. "But when I look at Isabelle, Marcus, and Claire, I see my little girl. I couldn't save Hannah, but I can save them." Victoria began to cry. Two people, two wounded souls, stood quietly in the cool morning air, sharing a pain that needed no words. "You are the best man I've ever known," Victoria said, her voice shaking. "And I will never forget what you've done." James nodded slightly. "They deserve to be happy. And so do you." The first week after Derek left was anything but easy. Isabelle still startled at the sound of heavy footsteps. She feared he would come back. Every night, she checked the door latch several times, even though Victoria had told her no one would ever lock it again. Marcus was still afraid of making mistakes. If he dropped a glass, he would stand frozen, trembling, waiting to be scolded. But Victoria only hugged him. "It's okay, honey. It's just a glass." Claire still had nightmares. She would jolt awake at night, sobbing, "Mommy, I'm scared." And each time, Victoria was there, holding her close, humming softly until she fell back asleep. Victoria cut her workload in half, delegated to her deputy. She turned down all unnecessary meetings. From now on, family was the priority. Every morning, they ate breakfast together. No rushing. No phones. Just listening. Little drinks. Tiny plans for the day. In the afternoon, Victoria herself drove to the school gate to pick them up. The first time she showed up waiting, Isabelle was startled. "You're picking me up, Mom?" "Yes. From now on, if work isn't urgent, I'll be the one picking you up." Isabelle smiled. The first genuine smile in months. "I love that, Mom." Evenings, the family gathered at the table. No more heavy dinners. Just laughter, conversation, sharing. Marcus talked about his soccer match. Claire showed off her new drawing. Isabelle read a paragraph she'd written. And Victoria truly listened, looking into each child's eyes, asking more, caring. "Are you happy, Mommy?" Claire asked, looking up. Victoria smiled, eyes brimming. "I'm very happy. Because I have you." James kept working at the mansion. But now he wasn't just a maintenance manager. He was part of the family. He taught Marcus to fix his bike. "See? Turn the bolt this way. Slowly. Don't rush." Marcus followed, tongue peeking out in concentration. When it worked, he shouted, "I did it, Uncle James." "Great job." James patted his shoulder. "You did it yourself." The confident smile returned to the boy's face. He helped Isabelle with her science project. "What do you want to do it on?" "Airplanes. But I don't know much." James smiled. "I used to be an aerospace engineer. Want me to help?" Isabelle's eyes lit up. "Really?" "Really. We'll build a model plane together." For a week, they measured, cut, glued. They talked about aerodynamics, wind shapes, lift. You know so much, Isabelle marveled. I'm just sharing what I know, James said. And you're smart. You're going to do amazing things. Isabelle hugged him. Thank you. You're like a second dad. James hugged her back, eyes stinging. For the first time since losing Hannah, he felt like a father again. With Claire, he told bedtime stories. Not the usual fairy tales, the ones he spun himself about a brave girl named Claire, who fought dragons called Fear and found the light. And then Claire realized, James said, voice warm and low, she didn't have to be afraid of the dark anymore, because she had a family who loved her. She had her mom, her brother and sister, and good friends. Where there's love, there's always light. Claire listened, rapt. Am I the brave Claire? Yes, you're the bravest Claire I've ever known. I love you, Uncle James. I love you too. 6 months later, life settled. The children were healthy and cheerful. Ashford Manor, once cold, now brimmed with laughter. Victoria realized something. James was always there. Up early for the garden. Afternoons playing with the kids. Evenings fixing small things, really looking for excuses to stay nearby. And then she understood. She wasn't just grateful. She was moved. One evening, with the kids in bed, Victoria stepped into the garden. James sat on a bench, gazing up at the starry sky. You're not heading home yet? Victoria asked softly. I'm looking at the stars. It's been a long time. Why didn't you before? Because after Rachel and Hannah died, I didn't dare look up. It reminded me of airplanes, of the crash. And now? Now it's different. I remember not only how they died, but the wonderful life we had. Victoria was quiet for a moment, then said, Thank you, James. For what? For everything. For saving my children. For staying. For helping me find myself again. Moonlight spilled over the garden, and in each other's eyes, they saw something very calm. Not a storm, not blazing passion, but the deep connection of two hearts once broken, now knitting back together. Victoria, James said gently, I need to say this. What is it? I think I have feelings for you. Victoria's heart surged. You have feelings for me? He nodded. For a long time, but I didn't dare say it. Because I'm just a hired help, and you're Victoria Matthews. Victoria smiled, eyes misting. I'm not Victoria Matthews anymore. I'm just Victoria, a single mother, a woman who made mistakes and is trying to live again. And I'm just James, he smiled sadly. A man who lost his wife and child, who thought he'd never love again. Thought, Victoria asked softly, until I met you. So did I, Victoria whispered. They sat together, hand in hand, under the stars. No rush, no labels, simply letting hope grow. The following weeks, Victoria invited James to dinner, not his staff, but his family. The kids welcomed him as if it had always been that way. After dinner one evening, Isabelle pulled James aside. Uncle James, you like my mom, don't you? James decided not to dodge it. Yes, I like your mom. Isabelle smiled. I like that. Really? Because you're kind. You're not like Derek. You truly care about us. I want you to stay with us, with Mom. Victoria sat down with all three kids. I want to ask you something. How do you feel about Uncle James? Claire chirped. I like him. He tells me bedtime stories. Marcus nodded. He taught me to fix my bike. He's awesome. Isabelle looked at her mother. You like him too, don't you? Victoria smiled. Yes, I do. Then that's great. Isabelle exhaled. Because we like him too, and we just want you to be happy. Victoria pulled all three into a tight hug, tears falling from happiness. You are the greatest gift of my life. 1 year later, Victoria and James stood on the beach in Malibu, watching the waves roll in. I used to think I'd never love anyone again, James said. So did I, Victoria replied. After Nathan, I thought my heart had died. It didn't die. James squeezed her hand. It was just waiting for the right person. Victoria rested her head on his shoulder. You don't have to be perfect, only genuine. They sat there, listening to the sea, soaking in the peace they had searched for so long. This isn't just the story of a billionaire woman and a maintenance man. It's a reminder. Do not stay silent when you see something wrong. Listen to your children. Sometimes a child's silence is the loudest cry for help. Forgive yourself. Everyone makes mistakes. Strength is knowing how to stand back up. It is never too late to love again. Even when the heart has been shattered, it can still heal. If you're living in pain, please don't give up. Happiness sometimes arrives from where you least expect it. If you see a child being hurt, be brave like James. Your silence can prolong their suffering. If you are a parent, be there. Truly be there, because love is the greatest gift. Victoria and James found each other amid the ruins and built a new home. You can too. Never lose hope. Thank you for following this story. If it touched your heart, share it with those you love. And remember, love always triumphs over darkness.